Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking you on a journey into, well, a truly unique and frankly unsettling set of sources,
Absolutely. We have excerpts from a first-hand account and autobiography.
detailing experiences inside a facility described by the buyer from the World Succession Deed 1400 as a black site Berlin penal psychiatry.
Indeed. And this deep dive, it's less about, broad concepts and much more about raw personal
Right.
experience. The buyer portrays this place, well, not just as a psychiatric facility.
Right.
He calls it a covert secret prison, a black site.
Mm.
From his perspective, staff actions might even be influenced by various state interests, maybe an international deep state. He even mentions alleged Secret Service involvement behind certain incidents that shaped his experience there.
So our mission today is really to pull out the most striking details, the surprising insights from these encounters. We want to give you a rare glimpse into a world most of us can barely imagine.
Exactly.
Okay, let's get into this account, the daily realities, the extraordinary characters our source encountered.
Let's do it.
So our deep dive begins with, well, an immediate shock. An encounter with a patient referred to as the necrophile.
Yeah, picture this.
Yeah.
A common room in the evening. And it's lit mainly by flickering flames.
In a waist-high ashtray?
Exactly. Flames reaching, about 70 centimeters high, and the necrophile seemed quite pleased by it.
Right, so the buyer tells him, put it out,
Yeah.
and the reaction.
Immediate attack. The necrophile strikes 3 times, quick and hard, with a ceramic coffee mug aimed right at the buyer's temple.
Wow. But the buyer reacted quickly.
Yeah, he managed to partly block the blows, so he only got hit lightly. Remarkable reflexes, really.
And then the buyer's countermove.
He pushed the necrophile back first. Then, as the patient pushed against him, the buyer suddenly pulls him close, did a kind of judo foot sweep
Threw him onto a couch.
onto the couch, then pinned him. Held both arms with just one hand, even jumped on his torso to make sure he was completely subdued. It was clearly over at that point.
But the staff,
Yeah.
what was their role in this?
Well, that's what's fascinating, isn't it? They observed the whole thing through a glass door.
Just watched.
Just watched. Didn't intervene immediately. It suggests a very hands-off approach to conflict there, almost like they let things play out or escalate before stepping in.
So the struggle continued for a bit.
A moment, yeah.
Yeah.
The necrophile tried to spit, that kind of thing. But it was the buyer's threat of ISO solitary confinement that finally calmed him down.
And the consequence.
He was just locked in his room overnight, where apparently he screamed, "I am a necrophile," for hours on end.
Good grief. And this wasn't exactly a secret.
Not at all. His crime, murdering a friend and repeatedly defiling the corpse, was known throughout the station. It confirmed his diagnosis, necrophilia, per the ICD-10 classification. A really disturbing reality in that place.
Okay, so, as if that wasn't intense enough, the buyer then introduces us to Joker Face.
Ah, yes, Joker Face. A physically imposing patient by the sounds of it.
Definitely. Tall, long dreadlocks and a thick beaver tail, he called it. And 14 tattooed tears on his cheek.
Each one supposedly implying a life taken.
Hmm.
Though the buyer, wisely perhaps, didn't ask.
Right. And the most striking feature, a Joker face tattooed right onto his own face.
Quite a statement.
His official record. Shot his sleeping girlfriend from behind, then randomly fired at passersby, intending to kill. And he apparently talked constantly about murder, how little life meant to him.
And yet, this connects to something the buyer observes repeatedly.
The religious angle?
Exactly, this disconnect. Severe, violent actions on one hand, and then this perceived religious absolution on the other. Joker Face constantly talked about going to eternal heaven soon.
And this was reinforced by the clinic's priest.
Partly so, which, makes you question how effective or even appropriate that kind of spiritual guidance is in this specific setting. Is it helping, or is it reinforcing dangerous delusions?
And Joker Face's background. Wealthy Berlin banking family, but he rebelled.
Right, and constantly on strong sedatives.
Yeah, the buyer describes him looking almost heroin addicted, always begging for extra Bedarf, the as-needed medication.
And he had a sort of status in there.
A celebrity status, yeah. Because of his looks, his job in the central Laissez Cafe, which was like a news hub for patients.
Yeah.
And just decades of being locked up with no hope of release.
Decades, wow.
Then there's this really odd interaction in the courtyard. The necrophile again?
What happened?
He apparently looked up to Joker Face. So he points at the buyer and keeps saying, "He's gay, he's gay."
And Joker Face's reaction.
Just coolly says, "Doesn't matter."
Cool.
The necrophile keeps at it, but the buyer doesn't react, doesn't feel the need to correct him.
Okay.
But here's the twist, the irony. What the necrophile didn't seem to grasp was that Joker Face himself was reportedly attracted to big mamas with huge penises and chicks with dicks.
Right, so the accusation kind of fell flat in more ways than one.
Pretty much. Okay, moving on. Next, we meet someone the buyer presents as a tragic example of the effects of long-term psychotropic drugs, neuroleptics.
Uh-huh. A Turkish man imprisoned for an honor killing his own pregnant sister.
Terrible. He was released after 10 years to supervised living, but then relapsed. Hashish and cocaine.
Right, and that triggered his return. He missed work at a workshop for the disabled. They had to report it.
And boom, he was back in black site Berlin penal psychiatry.
And once back, he was apparently very compliant with medication.
Yes, and amen to everything offered, the buyer says. Took up to 6 different meds at once. One of them attacked his white blood cells, similar to AIDS, apparently.
Leading to severe physical problems, I imagine.
Absolutely. Needed a kidney transplant, suffered from incontinence, wetting the bed every night, had to dry the mattress against the wall.
Oh, wow.
And even worse, severe constipation. He had to give himself enemas using a plastic water bottle.
That's graphic.
The buyer describes seeing him walking naked from the toilet, stiff-legged, water just streaming from his backside, completely disoriented from his night meds, looking heroin addicted.
It really makes you think about the long-term physical toll of these heavy medication regimes, doesn't it?
Yeah,
And the level of care or lack thereof for those physical ailments.
definitely. And there's another bizarre detail. He was caught by a nurse having sex in the toilet.
With another patient.
Yeah, a German patient who apparently had a fetish for urine. This other guy even urinated on the alarm button in his own cell once.
The stories just keep getting stranger.
But this honor killer, he also had a moment the buyer calls heroic.
Oh.
He saved a therapist from a knife attack by another patient.
Did that help him at all?
Apparently not. It wasn't popular with other patients, and it brought him no personal advantage. The buyer saw him again later on Station 10B, just another cycle.
A complex picture.
Okay, prepare yourself for this next one. The buyer calls him the obese giant baby.
Sounds ominous.
He was apparently 2 meters tall, weighed between 160 and 180 kilos, a pedophile with the mental maturity of a 13-year-old,
Right.
constantly sucking up to the staff, snitching on others to get advantages, but breaking rules himself all the time.
A difficult personality, clearly.
The buyer was his neighbor for a while and overheard him on an illicit phone, arranging meetings with minors during his supervised outings.
Seriously. Even getting them to visit him at the facility.
That's what the buyer recounts. And his lack of remorse was apparently shocking. In group therapy, he claimed consent from a 3.5-year-old and a 12-year-old.
Consent from a 3.5-year-old.
Yeah, and his justification for it not being rape, he claimed he had a micro penis less than 7 centimeters when erect.
Wow. The disconnect between his self-perception, his justifications, and the actual horror of his crimes. It's staggering.
It really highlights the immense challenge of rehabilitation or even achieving any kind of insight with delusions that deep-seated and dangerous within that system.
Absolutely. And the buyer's coping mechanism. That dark humor.
Yeah, joking about needing to trim off 7 centimeters, it's pretty grim, but you can see how you might need that kind of defense mechanism.
Definitely.
Then there was this incident. He seemed to have a moment of clarity, or maybe despair. Came out of therapy distraught, crying, "I'll never get out of here." Grabbed nail scissors from the common room and slit his wrist right in front of everyone.
Oh my God. How did people react?
The buyer's reaction was cold, he admits, hoping the guy would succeed. Other patients were apparently cheering him on, telling him to cut the other wrist too.
That paints a terrifying picture of the patient community itself.
Doesn't it? Then there's the prank. The buyer, ever observant, found out the combination for the giant baby's kitchen cabinet lock.
Let me guess. Something simple.
000.
Of course.
So he grabbed some lemon dish soap from the sink and squirted it into the guy's pots, pans, spices, everything.
Petty revenge, but I guess understandable in that context.
Later, he heard the giant baby shrieking with disgust when he tried to cook.
Right. But the most serious incident involving him came later.
Yeah, after the buyer had left that particular station, this giant baby, who the buyer says was totally aligned with the staff, made a false accusation
Against the buyer.
against the buyer and a nurse, claimed they threatened him with a knife, fabricated the whole thing.
And the consequences for the buyer.
5 months of isolation and 4.5 years of forced medication, based on a lie.
That's devastating.
Yes.
And this connects back to the buyer's claims about external influences.
Exactly. For the buyer, this wasn't just a random act by a disturbed patient. He claims it was orchestrated by the Secret Service and carried out by the facility staff, using the pedophile as a willing pawn for advantages.
Which really underscores the potential vulnerability of patients in that system. If true, it shows how easily they could be manipulated and the lack of recourse.
Fortunately, the accusation ultimately failed. 2 other patient statements contradicted the giant baby's story.
So his claim was nullified. Still, the damage was done for the buyer.
Absolutely. And the giant baby. He was eventually released from the facility.
Released, okay.
Let's shift gears slightly. Monster TV.
Monster TV.
A patient with severe paranoia, felt watched by everyone, especially in the common kitchen. Had a sudden outburst one day, stared intently at the TV screen, which was off the seat, then jumped up, ripped the antenna cable out of the wall, and threw it out the window. Claimed monsters in the TV were coming through the cable to get him.
Classic paranoia symptom. Externalizing the threat.
The buyer, though, was just annoyed by the delusion and decided to feed the paranoia.
Oh boy, what did he do?
He learned to pick simple locks with a butter knife. So he broke into Monster TV's room.
And stole something.
No, nothing like that. He took the guy's bedding duvet and pillow and hid them under the bed.
Ah, subtle.
Exactly. The buyer figured, rightly, that no one would believe Monster TV's story. Someone broke in, stole nothing, but hid my bedding.
Yeah, sounds completely delusional, even if it actually happened. It really shows the patient dynamics, the power struggles.
And how easily patient claims can be dismissed by staff, even if there's a kernel of truth, because it's filtered through their known condition, like paranoia.
Right. Did it stop there?
No, it escalated. Other patients heard about the prank and wanted revenge, too.
What did they do?
Mixed up some foul-smelling liquid kitchen waste and poured it into his room through the door gap. So Monster TV spent days trying and failing to convince staff someone had broken into his room and messed with his stuff.
Yeah.
Terrible.
A grim little microcosm of powerlessness.
Now, something the buyer notes is a jarring reality. The prevalence of extreme right-wing views among many German patients.
He found that illogical.
Deeply illogical. Given the Nazis' history of euthanizing the mentally ill, the T4 program, he expresses real disdain for these guys, seeing themselves as a master race, while being, in his view, at the bottom of the human hierarchy as penal psychiatry patients.
An understandable perspective. Did he have direct encounters?
Oh, yeah. His new neighbor on one station was a Nazi, covered in swastika tattoos.
How did that go?
The buyer was actually surprised the guy could speak in whole sentences. His previous encounters with Nazis usually involved finding them beaten up and screaming on the ground after clashes with left-wing groups.
Right.
So he had to kind of suppress his own feelings, maintain a normal conversation, to avoid getting into trouble with the staff himself.
Tricky situation. What was this neighbor's story? Why was he transferred?
He'd infected another patient on a different station, 10C, with AIDS, shared a tattoo needle without disinfecting it.
Oh, God. Did they find out how?
A room search turned up 15 homemade tattoo machines. Made from hair clippers, needles, pen ink.
Resourceful in a terrifying way. And his original crime.
Domestic violence. Nearly beat his ex-girlfriend to death after she apparently tore a chunk of flesh from the back of his head during a fight. He'd also been active in the Nazi scene in Magdeburg.
So, a violent history all round.
And complicated. He apparently betrayed his Nazi friends to the authorities at some point, which put him on their blacklist and forced him to move.
Did they catch up with him?
They did. 3 Nazis kicked in his apartment door. His roommate just fled, didn't help, didn't call the police.
Left him to it.
One of them beat him repeatedly with a baseball bat. Over 50 times, the buyer recounts him saying, stopped only when they thought he was dead.
Brutal.
And the detail the buyer includes, chilling. And the getaway car, the guy with the bat apparently licked the blood off it and said, was that awesome?
It really highlights the absolute breakdown of any kind of loyalty, even within those extreme ideologies, just pure brutality.
Makes you wonder how or if that level of violence and trauma is ever really addressed in a place like penal psychiatry.
The huge question, did he survive the attack?
Barely. Revolved 3 times on the way to the hospital. Brain partially exposed, skull fragments embedded in it.
Incredible he lived.
He ended up with multiple titanium plates in his head, facial reconstruction, lost all memory of his old face.
And the attacker?
Got only 2 years in prison, but upon release, he was shot dead by a contract killer.
Retribution.
The Nazi neighbor admitted to the buyer, of course I had something to do with the murder, something the police apparently never knew.
Wow. So the violence just continued.
Yeah, his paranoia increased. He armed himself, shot into a car, threatened people, got into brawls, and the severe brain injuries eventually led him back to Black Site Berlin penal psychiatry.
And he was eventually released from there, too.
After 13 years, yeah. Released due to disproportionality.
Okay, and he had a friend who was even more extreme.
That's right. A guy so radical he got kicked out of the NPD, the far-right party, for repeatedly denying the Holocaust.
Too radical for the NPD is quite something.
This guy had what was diagnosed as a racial delusion, daily xenophobic actions escalating to his main crime.
What did he do?
Armed himself with 3 butcher knives, stormed a doner kebab shop in Berlin-Lichtenberg, and attacked the owner, stabbed him so violently, twisting the knives, that all 3 blades broke off in the victim's belly.
My God, did the victim survive?
Amazingly, yes. And he identified the attacker, hence the diagnosis, racial delusion.
Just unbelievable violence. And any other incidents with him?
Bizarre ones. Woke up once covered in blood in his apartment, total amnesia about how it happened. Panicked, cleaned the whole place with bleach but without gloves.
Oh.
Suffered severe chemical burns on his hands and arms, needed constant cream and medical gloves after that.
Good grief. And family connections.
His brother, also a Nazi, was on another station, 10B.
What was his story?
He had raped, tortured, and murdered a little girl in his cellar in East Berlin. The whole family was ostracized because of it.
An entire family steeped in this.
Apparently. And the first brother, the too radical one, told the buyer he planned to murder his own brother when they eventually got released.
Why? Because of the child murder?
Partly that, but also because the brother had killed again after a previous release. He'd imprisoned his girlfriend and starved her to death over more than a month.
It's just layer upon layer of horror.
The buyer's comment says it all. 2 super brothers, I'd say. Good genes. Real master race material. Pure sarcasm, obviously.
Understandably. The ultimate contradiction with this guy, though.
Despite being violently homophobic, he apparently accepted €100 multiple times for protected oral sex.
Like whom?
With the patient we're about to discuss, a guy who'd been incarcerated for 42 years and had AIDS and hepatitis C.
And this too radical Nazi was released.
After only 7 years in the facility. Yes.
7 years for that level of violence and delusion, contrasted with the next case.
Exactly. Let's talk about the psychiatry victim, as the buyer calls him, an inmate for 42 years.
42 years. What was his original crime?
Stealing 2 bottles of vodka when he was 17.
17. 2 bottles of vodka. Led to 42 years in forensic psychiatry. That's hugely disproportionate.
Massively. Started in juvenile, then moved to adult stations. By the time the buyer met him, he was undeniably disturbed. Regular drug use, always getting caught, and he had this unique, disturbing fetish.
What was it?
Anal insertion of toilet brushes contaminated with feces.
Okay. Wow.
The buyer witnessed something truly shocking involving him on Station 7A, an exchange.
What kind of exchange?
This 42-year inmate pulled Tavor tablets tranquilizers out of his anus. They were wrapped in brown streaked toilet paper.
Oh, no.
And he traded them to another patient, a Turkish guy, for an old Walkman.
And the other patient?
Took the package, unhesitatingly unwrapped the soft, crushed tablets, and swallowed them dry. Right there.
I have no words. The desperation, the conditions.
The buyer was disgusted, obviously, but later realized the sheer danger. The 42-year inmate didn't just have this fetish. He also had AIDS and advanced hepatitis C.
So those tablets were potentially contaminated with everything.
Exactly. The hep C was so advanced, he was eventually released to a hospice, died 6 months later.
His case just screams questions about the whole system, doesn't it? The appropriateness of locking someone up for mental health issues for that long, especially for such a minor initial offense. It's a stark commentary.
Truly stark. Okay, another old-timer the buyer met, an elderly, small Indian man.
Adopted.
Yeah, adopted from an Indian orphanage, been in black site Berlin penal psychiatry since the early 90s.
His crime.
Shot a romantic rival in a bar back in the early 90s.
He had an escape story.
An incredible one. He fled during a dental visit back before the facility was properly fenced.
How did he manage?
Got fake papers somehow in the red light district. Flew to Caracas, Venezuela. This was before chipped passports made that harder.
Lived there long.
4 years. In a favela, working as a day laborer, just disappeared.
How's he caught?
Interpol, at an ATM line. They just walked up and addressed him in German. Game over.
4 years on the run, then caught at an ATM.
Yeah.
Venezuela sent him back.
It was post 9/11. Venezuela wasn't protecting international fugitives like maybe they once did, so back to Germany he came.
It really shows how global events can impact individual lives in unexpected ways, and the sheer relentlessness of the system hunting people down.
Absolutely. The buyer notes how hard it is for most mentally ill fugitives to sustain being on the run. This guy managed 4 years, which is remarkable, but the psychological toll must have been
And the
immense.
end result.
Now he's over 70, no outings allowed, ever, because he's deemed an escape risk, so he sealed his fate. He'll die in black site Berlin penal psychiatry.
A long, drawn-out consequence.
The buyer reflects on this, how hard it is to escape secure institutions and stay hidden. You need money, new identities, much harder now with biometrics or connections, maybe political or criminal. He saw his own fate as pretty much inescapable, too.
A bleak outlet.
Yeah, okay, a bit of a change of pace here.
Yeah.
Involves the buyer himself. He'd managed to save some money, but then 2,500 euros were found during a search.
And that caused problems.
Yeah, he lost his state-provided pocket money for a year and a half because he had too much personal cash.
Bureaucracy even in there.
So to spend the money and avoid more deductions, he started buying magazines, including Spektrum der Wissenschaft, Spectrum of Science,
Okay.
complained about a huge bill once, and somehow ended up getting a massive collection of old back issues for free. Calls it the jackpot.
Right place, right time, I guess. How does this lead anywhere?
It led him to meet the Kadowi bag bomber,
Bo.
an autistic patient described as highly intelligent, former car mechanic, really into physics and math, decorated his walls with complex formulas.
And the buyer shared the science magazine.
Yeah, I gave him the whole collection. They connected over that shared interest.
And his crime. The bag bomber part.
He placed a homemade bomb inside a Kadewi bag that's a famous Berlin department store in Schiller Park in the wedding district of Berlin.
Did it go off?
Yes. A homeless man found the bag, opened it, and the bomb exploded. Severely injured him, blinded him.
Horrific. How was the bomber caught?
Police traced remnants of the bomb back to an electronics retailer where he'd ordered specific ignition parts online.
They found him through the parts.
Yeah, the buyer mentions press articles at the time about police searching for an insane bomb maker and later confirming the arrest of Stefan S., the patient he knew, a 56-year-old German-Afghan. They found another nearly finished pipe bomb in his apartment, too.
It's chilling how something seemingly rational, like an interest in physics, can twist into such irrational, extreme violence in some cases of mental illness, and a real challenge for law enforcement to figure out motive.
Absolutely. It brings the seemingly self-contained world of the facility crashing into public external crime.
A stark connection.
Okay, one last character profile from this section. Mr. Permanent Isolation, or Mr. Daueriso in German.
The isolation record holder.
That's the one. Described as clever, educated a Kurd who could name all the African states.
Oh,
But he'd suddenly scream during conversations, constantly felt threatened, and had a habit of making knives out of can lids.
which led to
Constant isolation. His record was 2 years of continuous isolation.
2 years straight in solitary. That's hard to fathom.
The buyer had a view from his own window into this guy's isolation cell for a time. He describes seeing hours of, genital display and naked masturbation facing the observation window.
A sign of profound disturbance or maybe defiance. Hard to say.
After 2 years of this, the clinic decided to put a TV in his isolation cell.
Trying a different approach.
Maybe, but he immediately destroyed it.
Of course he did.
The buyer's reaction was just, how stupid is that? Giving a TV to someone who'd been in isolation for 2 years for destructive and unpredictable behavior.
It really underscores the extreme conditions, doesn't it? And the immense difficulty of managing patients with such profound behavioral issues. Where does treatment end and just containment or even punishment begin in such an environment?
That's the question, isn't it? What a deep dive this has been. We've journeyed through this really, truly astonishing series of personal anecdotes.
All from within what the buyer consistently describes as black site Berlin penal psychiatry.
Yeah, from those violent confrontations, the bizarre obsessions, the narrator's claims of Secret Service orchestration.
To acts of just extreme violence and deep personal despair. It paints an unforgettable, often disturbing picture of life inside.
Indeed. These stories, they really highlight the profound realities, don't they? Faced by people within institutions like this.
They really force you to consider that fine line between mental health care and incarceration, the impact of living under constant surveillance, with potentially questionable motives behind some actions, according to the source.
And just the sheer resilience of some individuals, or maybe the tragic vulnerability of others, navigating these extreme circumstances.
It really pushes us to ask, what does rehabilitation or justice even mean in a place where these kinds of stark realities seem to unfold daily?
So what does this all mean for you listening? Perhaps it's a reminder, of these hidden worlds that exist just beyond our everyday understanding.
Or maybe the complex, often contradictory nature of human behavior
Hmm.
when pushed to extremes.
It certainly leaves you with a lot to think about.
Definitely food for thought.
Well, thank you for joining us on this extraordinary deep dive. We hope it's given you a unique perspective, maybe sparked your own curiosity to look deeper into the systems and the stories that shape our world.